Nope. To mute it. All right. We got 5 minutes. Let's see. I can get a joint rolled. Make sure everything is going well with Zoom. Hi, Zoom. Zoom, you look great. No. I wanted to do. All right. I want to start as on time as possible. No, I gotta clean this shit. Da-da-da. If for some reason there are people that are already watching, bear with. But also, if you're not watching, hopefully you're watching later. Later. Okay, let's see. Oh, that's what I wanted to do. Fuck. Sent. All right. I need to bring a producer on this, though. I don't know that people need to be seeing all this silence. Oh, we didn't even grind up the weed. Girl, she's struggling. All right. I'm going to go ahead, start on time here because that's what I want to do. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and start this. Oh, I need to turn off the ringer. I need to timer. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Tony Soto Show. My name is Tony Soto, and today we are doing things a little differently because I had decided that in our last, 8 or so months we have left of the podcast, that I wanted to do at least one show a month where I do it solo. And so we're going to see how this works out and how well this is received. We are broadcasting live on our Patreon at this moment. So if you would like to watch these interviews that happen monthly, then all you have to do is go to the Tony Soto Show Patreon, subscribe a measly $5 a month, and you can get access to this, plus so much more content that I actually do produce on the Patreon. Yeah. I mean, the Patreon is an untapped market of interesting things to watch. And if it isn't interesting to you, then let us know what you think would be interesting to watch me and also my co-hosts, Maxwell and Diana, do. You know, maybe we'll get some stuff done. I know that I am dedicated to creating more content for our Patreon page. Because I'm very appreciative of the people who have been with us for as long as they have and have sat through like literal long droughts of us not doing a goddamn thing. And by us, I mean me. So we did start a new year off last year or last week. And I realized that, so we didn't have our regular co-hosts back last week. Had to find a sub working. So there was a lot of things that I let just slip my mind. And the crazy thing is being a gay podcast, the fact that I did not mention Betty White last week and the passing of Betty White on this show, actually, I should be reprimanded. I should lose a couple of my punch cards that we get for being homosexuals. But yes, 2022 has already set up itself to be a year of some pretty big losses so far. And I mentioned Betty White. We lost Betty on New Year's Eve. And what a classy gal. Like, what a classy bitch. You know what I mean? She's like, listen, I know that 2022 is not going to be any better than 2021, y'all. And I, as an icon, as a golden gal, have decided that I'm going to give you one less thing to worry about. One less thing. Because when we had that whole rash of folks dying, I think it was at the beginning of 2021 or the end of 2020, we lost a lot of great people. And in the back of my mind, and I don't want to speak for everybody, but in the back of my mind, I literally was like, oh my God, how is Betty? And like as you get older and you're a star, like you kind of just disappear when you get older. I mean, like we haven't seen Barbara Walters, and I couldn't even tell you how long. Well, she's not dead yet. So like Betty had also kind of fallen off. Like she hadn't really done much in the last couple of months outside of like tweeting and whatnot. And who knows who's doing that for her. But I think that she was just like, let's give you one less thing to worry about in 2022, because quite frankly, the truth of the matter is we're going to have a lot of shit that we do have to deal with. So Betty was like, sayonara, bitches. She was like, I'm fucking out of here. She's like, I'm the last remaining golden girl, like the end of a legacy. She's literally, we talk about like losing all these like Hollywood greats or these pop culture greats. And it's like, she is the epitome of knowing what it was like to work through decades of the entertainment industry, and not a pretty industry, like pretty homophobic, pretty misogynistic, pretty racist. And she is an example of one of those performers that worked throughout that whole time. And I mean, I challenge you to find her saying something problematic. You know what I mean? Like, she was always a lover of people, a lover of animals, and she's just going to be missed. So, Betty, God bless you. I am not a believer in the afterlife. I believe that energy just moves on and spreads out. And if there is a creator, then I hope that you are getting the rewards that you are entitled to. And if there is not a creator and you are just like on a continuous push forward, your energy, your spirit, or whatever is just going out there and ethos, I hope that everything it touches experiences some calmness and light, because you will be missed. But on top of that, we lost Sidney Poitier, who is at 94, I believe he passed away, who was the first African-American actor to win an Oscar. He's an activist. He's from the Bahamas, and so he was a big pride and joy of the Bahamas, I believe it is. I believe it's the Bahamas. I hope I'm not. No one here to check me when she does it by herself. But I was thinking about this because I live in Los Angeles, and when a big star dies, the people flock to their stars. You know what I mean? Their Hollywood Walk of Fame stars. And, we had that situation when Betty passed away. Now, I can't really remember where Betty's real estate was, but she's in a good spot. You know what I mean? She's in a high trafficked spot, and she had flowers and candles and adornments all over her walk, her star. And then after Sidney passed away, they had the news crews out there at his star, which is, I do not know where their stars are, but what I'm saying is one looked to be heavy traffic, probably and then one looked to be in front of a garage. So, I mean, and there just wasn't really the turnout for Sidney I guess we just have grown to accept now, because, I mean, he's equally as iconic as Betty, but separate genres, obviously, but same industries. And I don't know. It was very interesting to see the grand adios that we gave to Betty, and then the almost nothing that happened for Sidney Poitier. And I digress. What can I say? I didn't go out to either. Hollywood's dreadful. Let's be honest. That's one big secret one big spoiled secret that you don't realize until you move to LA, is how gross Hollywood actually is. But then to top it off, we just lost Bob Saget, America's dad. America's dad is dead. And this is crazy because he was 65, and I know, as I get older, I think about my mortality often. And I find that, after you have children, you also do that even more, because you get to watch someone in the prime of their lives, and you're sitting here hoping that your body doesn't ache all day. But we lost America's dad, Bob Saget, who is an acclaimed TV star, stand-up comedian. And, it was crazy because we know him as from Full House, and we know him, the general public know him as the father on Full House. They know him as the host of multiple seasons of America's Funniest Videos and Home Videos. And but what people are and what I've known always, but what people are learning, because you don't really go out of your bubbles, is that he was a very blue comic. He was he was a dirty comic. He said dirty words, talked about dirty things. And, I never really knew him for his stand-up. And so, after people die, they start playing their greatest hits on the shows and whatnot. So I watched half of one of Bob Saget's more recent comedy specials on HBO Max. And I realized, yeah, I knew him as America's dad. Like, I never liked America's Funniest Home Videos because I always thought the jokes were super corny. And come to find out, he wrote that shit. And so it all makes sense to me. I'm like, oh, I know and appreciate Bob Saget from Full House. I do not know and appreciate Bob Saget from his stand-up career because I just did not think it was all that funny. But what do I know? Like, what do I know? And I'm not trying to like trash anyone's, if you love him for his comedy, perfect. I hope that, I hope that he keeps bringing you laughs, when you revisit his discography or whatever. But for me, I'm just like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine with this comedy. I watch a lot of stand up, everybody. I watch a lot of comedy. I appreciate a good comedian because I really wish I knew what it was like. I wish I had the skill to write a cute joke. I do, but I don't. And so I'm appreciative, and I never want to like be too shady, but I don't know. There's also corny comics out there, and I think it's okay to be like, I'm not into you. You're corny. That said, let's move on from all the loss because, guys, we had another anniversary. We had an anniversary that we can never forget, and that was the 1-year anniversary of the failed coup by former president, twice impeached and disgraced Donald Trump. And Republicans are doing whatever they can to make us think that wasn't a thing and that nothing really happened and there's no big fucking deal and blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, you can lie to the American people to a point. I mean, you can show them a video and they'll tell you, no, that didn't happen. That's doctored. How dare you? But I do kind of feel like there are cracks that are happening in the government ethos when it comes to the insurrection. I mean, recently, Marjorie Taylor Greene was taken off of Twitter for her constant misinformation regarding COVID-19. And she was a huge mouthpiece for talking about if you are from a blue state and you move to a red state, then you need to have a cooling off period where they can indoctrinate you into their bullshit. Still paying taxes, mind you. You can't vote, but they want you to vote the way they are doing it. And I feel like this is like happening in all of these red states that are getting a lot of California people that are moving there. They're like, remember why you moved here? We're ignorant and stupid and don't take care of nothing. And that's how you like it. So you just remember that and don't come here bringing all your liberal bullshit and your nonsense. And Marjorie was a really big proponent on that whole thing. So if a stupid white blonde woman starts a civil war here in the United States, honey, we have it coming. All right, we deserve it. Because she's like a huge moron. Like every time I see her, I'm like, you and Sarah Palin are cut from the same fucking cloth. And it is said, why are all conservative women dumb? Like, why are they the stupidest and the loudest? I hate it. But piggybacking on that, we have Madison, what is his name? Madison Cawthorn. I don't know. I can't read my writing. He's the senator from North Carolina that's in the wheelchair. No shade on the wheelchair, but then you all know who he is. He's North Carolina, and North Carolina voters are trying to be like, we do not want him to be able to run for re-election because of the parts that he played during the insurrection. So, I know that a lot of liberals are like, in this internet age that we live in, you want shit fast, and this is a kind of a hurry up and wait situation. But I do think that as this goes along, we're going to be seeing a lot more politicians, Republican politicians, that are going to have some explaining to do. And I, for one, am excited and can't wait for that. Let's see, guys, before we take a break, what else did I want to talk about here? Oh, my goodness, guys. January 28th, the Queen, Miss Janet Jackson, she has produced a 2-day documentary special that is going to premiere on A&E, I believe. And I just read the article that they did on her in Allure magazine. And A, she looks fabulous. And B, Janet's just always Janet. Like Janet can come in any decade and just be Janet. And we are like, we love you, Janet. We love you. We love you. We love you. And this is no different. Like, I can't wait to see. I'm so interested because not only do I want to know how she dealt with her family and the backlash or whatever, but I also want to know about like this prince that she married and then she had a kid with, and that she was like, sayonara, I don't want to be with you. This is like, I'm just intrigued. And I hope that the documentary that is produced by Janet is the tell all that we want, because we stand her. Like, I hate that when that whole Super Bowl nonsense happened, that everyone went to her and was like, you have to explain yourself. And it's like, come on. Anyway, we stand Janet. Girl, work, bitch, work. Before we go to break, we have a little bit of gay news. And this is interesting because, dropped my shit, is because in the gay news, Miss Caroline Cruz, that is right, 13-year-old daughter of stupid gas bag idiot moron Ted Cruz, senator out of Texas, has just recently come out as bisexual. Also saying that she does not really agree with most of her father's politics, but that she thinks that the father, and though that she hasn't at the time of the article or the time of the TikTok declaration, that she has not come out to Ted Cruz yet, but that she doesn't think that he would be too terribly upset about the bisexual thing. And here's just some hope before we go to break. Here's some hope that if a stupid Republican cuck like fucking Ted Cruz can spend his lifetime being a complete moron and saying the stupidest shit possible and procreate, there is still a chance for those children to grow up and realize that their parents' politics are stupid and hopefully make a change from within. Because if we're going to have to pay attention to Cruz's, I'm hoping that it's Caroline, and I'm hoping she's running for something, as long as she stays a nice liberal thinking bisexual. All right. We are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we have an exclusive interview with no stranger to this show. She's been here quite often. I'm so glad that she's back here again. She is an entrepreneur. She is an amazing drag performer. She is an advocate for the trans community. And she just recently got a little bump being on an internet game show where she has debuted her alter ego, Bitter Betty. So when we come back, we're going to talk to Sara Andrews. We'll be right back. Okay. First segment down. Let's just make sure Sara is on her way because I do not see her. Okay, but this is good because this will give me time to roll a joint. Is there anyone even watching? Who even cares? I don't care if you don't watch. Oh, here she is. Nobody asked for it. Nobody asked for this glamour and beauty.
Hello. Do I need to put headphones on?
I don't think you do.
Hi.
Oh my God, you look fabulous.
Thanks. I'm filming are we on air? We're not on air.
We are. So maybe don't say anything that will, like, this is only on air for my Patreon viewers, which isn't that many, but don't say anything that you don't want people to know.
You know what? I'll feel it. I'm starting my YouTube channel and I'm filming my YouTube later. So I just go ahead and start painting.
Oh, you look stunting, girl.
Thanks.
My God. So can I ask you where those contacts came from?
You know what? I forget the website. One of those websites from China, I think.
Is it Dorsey or Dosey? Because like that's the kind that I think I have. that I love. I obviously I don't
Maybe
know.
I want to say that Eva Destruction gave me this. I think it's something psych.
Oh yeah, something spooky,
I
something
think so.
woo.
But their prescription, which I love, because
Yeah, mine too. Yeah. We're old. We're getting older. Do you need two pairs of glasses now? One for far away and one for up close? Because
not
I
yet,
do.
not yet. Oh my
Girl, 2 more
God.
years and you're there. Hi,
Ooh.
Taylor. How's Taylor feeling?
He's right. He's all right. He's getting better, slowly but surely.
I really wish that we would have
Yeah.
had our game night, but I'm glad that y'all let me know that you were gross.
Me too.
Are you feeling okay?
You know what? I'm fine. I've been fine this whole pandemic. Well, I was sick like once. I think at like Halloween I started to get it. But Taylor's been sick multiple times throughout this bullshit. And like he was sick Halloween, then again on Thanksgiving.
Well, I mean, he works in a restaurant, you know,
Yeah, he
like
works in a restaurant, and also he's a little puny little thing.
oh, little delicate guy.
All
right, hold on.
He's a big old beefy man, but he's a little bitty thing.
Yeah, but I stand a short king, so
I do too.
We're cut from the same cloth, you and I think.
I'm a very tall woman. I don't mind stumpy little man.
No, I want him to work for me like a girl. I want you to show me your reach. What do you got?
Climb me like a tree.
Yes, bitch. So wait. Can we talk about the YouTube thing on the show? Like, because this will also still be a podcast. Are you debuting it through somebody or are you self-producing it?
It's just going to be me.
Oh my God, then let's
talk
about it.
Myself. I'm a producer, a director. You know what? Taylor will probably help me out a whole lot with it.
Well, then let's talk. Well, of course he's got you, better or worse. And who knows what your YouTube station's going to look like.
Usually worse.
Hold on, let me get my tamper and then we'll go ahead and start the show.
All right. Oh, where'd my coffee go? Maybe just a tip.
Why is nothing ever where I want it to be?
Oh,
are we going to be able to see your fitness journey?
Wait, are we on YouTube Live? I've never been on a live on YouTube before. That's cool.
Yeah. So basically what you do is you make it unlisted on YouTube. So that way it's not open to the general public.
Oh.
And then the link is attached to my Patreon. And so whoever pays the $5 a month can access it. But we are streaming live on Patreon right now.
I've actually been thinking about a Patreon too, because my friend Darby Lynn Cartwright, who does the IMHO
I've heard of her
YouTube thing, she said that YouTube has money and it's pretty decent or whatever, but she said the majority of her income comes from her Patreon.
Well, YouTube will police your content.
Really?
Which you never want. You know what I mean? Like, because TikTok polices your content too.
Oh, like a motherfucker.
And I'm so old, I don't know the regulations, honey. So I had one whole thing I posted that was muted, and I was like, "What are we talking about on here that could possibly be muted?" Pussy.
Oh, yeah.
Look at that stud behind you. Damn.
I know that you have to. Change the spelling of a lot of words, like
you can't say weed, you can't do nothing, and I'm like
you can't spell the word white. You have to use the letters.
You can't say racism. You can't say racist. No. I was like, but how am I going to call out all the racists?
Oh my God, I follow this woman who is a trans woman who transitioned back in the 70s, and she's stunning. But she's probably was stealth throughout most of it. But she tries to post as a trans elder because she's been transitioning for 40, 50 years. And trans elder is blocked. Like she can't post trans.
I mean, it's weird. Okay, well, listen, would you like to do the show?
Not really, but I guess I will.
How dare you?
What?
She's kidding. She loves this show.
Oh, I'm fine. I do.
We're doing it by ourselves these days.
Sisters are I can only say 12 seconds of it, right?
Yeah, girl. We don't know nothing.
But also, I'm not the least bit on key, so that probably would.
Yeah, I didn't want to say anything because I'm supportive.
Look, I'm not
All right.
good. I know I can't sing. That's why I lip sync for a living.
Okay. All right. Are you ready?
I guess this eyelash. Why do I have hill people eyes even in makeup?
That they're leaning a little inward. It's all right. I wasn't going to say
This one over
anything.
here is like this small and this far down on my face.
You look stunning. Here we go. All right, we are back with the show, and I'm so excited to be doing our first solo with Soto with someone who's already done this show, friend of this show, but now it's a little more controversial that they're on the show. Like I had mentioned before I went to break, she's an entrepreneur. She's one of the best drag queens in town. She just had a whole resurgence by creating the character Bitter Betty on some internet drag show, and we're just excited to have her back. Miss Sara Andrews. Sara, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
My God, first of all, let's just talk about how goddamn gorgeous you are. Do you know, I play a lot of video games and I play, well, mostly Dead by Daylight. So, but like the people who I play with stan you regularly.
Really?
Yeah, because, you know, you got to wait for a lot of games in between Dead by Daylight. So we're on the Twitters and I'm like, damn, that's Sara. Love that fucking Sara. Now, let's talk about, thank you for coming. Let's talk about you, because this is all about you.
Me.
And your journey from like well, can we say a Nashville hill person to a superstar drag artist now.
To a about a T-list drag celebrity.
Still hey girl, at least you're in the alphabet, bitch. Welcome.
Still a hill person though.
So how is it? So what would you say that there's a difference between the Sara that we see now in the world than the Sara that started in Tennessee?
I mean, I've grown as a drag queen. I should hope that I've grown over 40 years, or however many years I've been doing this. I'm 40 years old. I don't guess I've been doing drag for 40 years. But yeah, I should hope that I've grown. I should hope that I've gotten better and am evolving. You know, I've reinvented myself more times than Madonna, I think.
Can I ask you about the step from gay boy to trans woman?
Yeah.
Like how that happened. What was the catalyst? Because honey, you're in a place where they didn't have a lot of trans women running around.
Well, back then in Nashville, actually, there were a couple big gay bars that had like really cool drag shows with stages. Because in the South, like they don't fuck around with their drag. They have stages that are separate from the dance floors and like show bars and things.
Oh, it's like Texas, kind of.
Yeah. Nashville's very like Texas. And back then, the majority of the casts, they have casts, you know, they don't like, it's hard to get on the cast. Once you're on there until someone leaves, dies, whatever. So it's really hard to get on cast down there. And for the most part, the majority of the cast when I started in the late 90s were trans women, full-blown transsexual women at that. So
right, but you weren't born in a gay bar. So like what brought
back then, like the kids didn't know about trans people really like they do now. Now kids are transitioning left and right. My first
because you were just a faggot for how long?
Yeah, I was just a big homosexual. But until I was like, I think I started transitioning at, I'm really bad with like remembering timelines.
Dates are not ours, honey. Because it's because we're fucking Gen Xers and we were left alone all the time, and looking at calendars wasn't really something we were doing.
Well, I also was a raver kid for quite a few years in my younger years and did a lot of drugs, so the days just kind of melded together.
Yes, girl, one big party.
Yeah, one big 5, 6, 7, 8 year party. So I honestly don't remember the date that I like the year exactly, but I think that was around 22-ish
and was it you saw a drag show and you were just like,
you know what it was? I think like I said, I was a little raver kid and I would go out everywhere. Anytime I would go out, I would go out in drag. And it was even like, dress raver kid pants and little visors and shit, but still in drag. And it got to a point where I realized that the reason that I think that I did that was because obviously I was just more comfortable that way. I just basically, girl, I got in drag and didn't want to come out.
Yeah, like, well, and this is the thing, like, and this is why
I had been doing drag for years before that as just a drag queen
and like a costume, like just someone who likes to like dress up. And that, I think that the raver community really kind of boosts that whole like, let's be Muppets, let's just whatever. So when you decided, when you were like, and this is why I think that a lot of trans drag artists need to be respected, is that my favorite thing to do at the end of the night is take the drag off. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it means something that when a trans person wants to stay in that state at all times, it is not comfortable to be a fabulous bitch. It just truly isn't. Now, go ahead.
Also back then, like, I mean, I didn't wear near as much makeup back then either. I thought that I was wearing a shit ton of makeup, and I probably was for back then, but yeah, I mean, the trans women were more just like these big glamazons that, so we didn't mind being in all that shit.
What was it? What was your journey like with your family at this time? Are you still close with them? Was this something that tore you apart, brought you together? I've
actually never been very close with my family because I grew up in foster care. So I was put into foster care permanently at the age of 10. And, moved around a lot after that. So I do know my mother, my birth mother. I do know her. I actually got reacquainted with her when I was, I think, like 17 turning 18. And so I do have a relationship with her, but I wouldn't call it like a close one or anything.
What does she think about Sara Andrews?
You think I'm a hill person, but you think Taylor's a hill person. Oh my God, she is a hill person. I mean, she grew up on a farmhouse with like no indoor running water, nothing but a wood stove, 13 brothers and sisters. I mean,
some Dolly Parton shit.
An outhouse, you name it. Yeah. She's a hill person. But and yeah, she grew up, I remember her, I very specifically remember her telling me when I was a little kid, we had a gay neighbor that she was good friends with, would go hang out with all the time. But I very specifically remember her telling me to stay away from him when she wasn't around because gay people are, child molesters. Yeah. So,
well, she also probably saw a little swish in your pants and was like,
right. So she, has a lot of hill person ideals that are not good, but she's very accepting of me. She's just, she lost all her children. All 3 of her children got put into foster care or adopted. And when I got reacquainted with her, she was just happy to have one of her children back.
So you have siblings and you have no relationship with them either?
Not really. I know them, but we're not close or anything. Like, we talk maybe once every few years, but it's nothing close.
Who were Sara Andrews's role models? Who helped lift her up and show her love?
As a child, or
of course, as a youth, did you find a good foster care moment, or what?
I mean, there were some good foster homes. There were some not so great foster homes. There were some that were good when they were good and real bad when they were bad. I feel like that's how the majority of them were, to be honest. But as far as like role models, I didn't really have any. I was my role model.
So you were like a loner.
It very much so. I was very much a loner because I didn't really stay in a school for any length of time. So I would make a couple of friends. I was never a popular girl. I was a nerd. So I had maybe 1 or 2 friends at most any school I went to. But I was a loner and learned at a very young age to be independent and make my own idea up about things and think for myself. And, especially when it comes to stuff like, religion and like deeper stuff, because like all those foster homes were different, like denominations and everything else. So like,
this is interesting to me because like, you've you were isolated.
Mhm.
You're dealing with what you think is homosexuality alone, but then ultimately turns into realizing that you are trans,
Right.
and you're doing this by yourself. So
Mhm.
it's like I'm just I'm so interested because I know what it was like for my isolated journey as a homosexual.
Mhm.
Um, but like I don't know what it was. I don't know what it would have been like. As shitty as my family was, they were there. You know what I mean? Like as shitty
Mhm.
as like my, I mean, as not connected as my relationships are with my siblings, I still had them. You know,
Right.
um, I don't know what it would be like to experience all that by yourself.
To be honest, I always kind of so I've always kind of looked at the brighter side of my childhood. Like a lot of people feel like my childhood is like was so bad because I didn't have a family and yada 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 yada. That was just my life. Like I never thought anything bad necessarily of it. And I try to look at the positive side of it all. And I think the positive side is that I didn't have to deal with like a family coming out
Questioning
to a
your every move.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Oh, that's
or like,
interesting.
yeah, I didn't have to deal with that. I was like, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. No,
I
well,
hear other people's stories about their families and how hard, their families are with acceptance and everything. And I'm like, I'm glad I didn't have to deal with that.
it's funny because I was just talking to someone about like, oh, I don't really talk to my mother all that much. Like it was, oh, I got my Christmas text is what I said, and they were like, oh, and I was like, I mean, I don't need to hear that kind of like sympathy because I'm not upset about it.
Right,
Like my family thing
right,
is what it is. I don't hate anybody, well, my father, but like like the people who I talk to infrequently are still people who I care for, and it's like I don't know.
right.
It's so you
That's how
find
I
that
am too. I kind of don't talk about my past a whole lot in person because like you do see like the looks of
the
like
looks, yeah,
and like oh and
and
I'm
and that,
like
and
it's
that's and
not like that.
I don't think that's fair. I think like, and if you're a listener out there who has a friend who is talking blasé about their dysfunctional family, maybe it's okay for them to be blasé about it. Maybe it's
Yeah.
not something that they fucking really care about or focus on. Did you create a community for yourself?
Um, I mean, absolutely. That's what drag is to me. Like when I became, so deeply ingrained in the drag community.
Yeah, when did you? What year was it that you just started being a drag queen?
I mean, I came right out of like 18. I moved out and moved to the big city in Nashville, and I started doing drag immediately. I knew that's what I wanted to do for a living. And there were some years in there, uh, like maybe a year or two, where I stopped. I kind of gave up on it because, like I said, in Nashville, there was that like two casts, and if you didn't get on those casts, you were working for free,
Was
basically.
there, but was there a way? Could you be just a working drag queen in Nashville at that time?
Not unless you were on a cast, no.
But on a cast, you could. You
Yes,
could be.
yes. Now, if you were on a cast, like you could do that was a full time job.
That's interesting. That because, like, I was thinking like from Chicago standards, which we missed each other, but we're both in Chicago.
Right.
Like there was no drag queens were doing other
It's a
jobs. Like
hustle.
we were doing other things. Like there was a
Yeah.
day job. We reported at offices and stuff. There wasn't this community. Explain
And
to us.
and like in Chicago, there's so many clubs and stuff, and there were so many shows going on that you had to hustle to get booked at like seeing each and every one of them.
Yeah.
But no, in Nashville, like if you were one of the lucky ones to get on a cast, that was you worked 4 or 5 nights a week, and that was your job. They you usually had your own dressing room and
Ooh,
there and
that's Lux, bitch. I want my name on the door.
yeah, my first gig was at this place called The Connection, and the stage was huge, like a huge theatrical stage. Girl, they had they had a zip line that went from the light booth down onto the stage that the drag queens would ride the zip line down.
Oh my God, they do. They have that shit in like Cancun, Mexico at their fucking nightclubs. That's like Cancun, Mexico shit. Well,
Yeah.
okay, but let me ask you something, Sara Andrews.
Yeah.
Like, because I think that you and I are kind of the same in the way of what the hell are you going to do on a big stage? Because we are not the kinds that are going to be doing drops and kicks and not.
I'm not a dancer. Never don't. Now, I will say, when I was younger, I do come from a dancing background. I did take ballet for quite a few years, and a couple of other dance things that I didn't care about those. Ballet was pretty and flowy and slow. but no, like I did like used to like kind of try to dance until my knees just started going out, and like I couldn't do it anymore.
Oh, to be those days, to watch Miss Sara Andrews try to do a step ball change. I'll tell you.
I was doing dips and everything.
I'm into it. Damn, but see, but you weren't easy on your knees, were you? So you had to cut it short.
No, I had no idea what I was doing. Girl.
Yeah, no regard for your aging body. And now look at us. Now we're here.
I don't know if you remember that song "Dip It Low."
Yeah,
that was my dipping song.
So you have been in the business since the 90s, girl. Let's fucking face it. What is it, like 97, 98, baby?
Yeah.
How have you seen the scene change? Because I started in 2001. And I'll tell you, there was never a discussion about trans folks in the dressing room.
No.
Never a single one.
No, we were just there.
So how has it changed for you, or from what you've seen from the start to present day?
I mean, when I started, like I said, trans women dominated the drag scene. As far as so I come from a pageant background. Like in the South, everybody's a pageant queen. Whether you've done a pageant or not, you're a pageant queen because that's who you're taught by.
Yeah. It's regalia, beauty, gowns, that kind of thing.
Yeah, you're taught the glamour and the quote proper way to do drag.
Right, the illusionist stuff, like the female illusionist kind of.
Yeah, and if you don't do that and do it well, you don't work. But that scene was dominated by trans women. I mean, dominated, and had been since like probably the 80s, I'd say. The early 80s is when they started being allowed to be in the pageants again, after Miss Gay America in 1972 put a ban on them.
Right.
From being there for like 8 years. Well, after, they were allowed, they started dominating the scene. So when I came around, trans women were where it was at. Like everybody wanted to be one. Everyone wanted to be like the trans queens.
Right. So then as the years have gone, because when I started, there was no economy for it. There was no economy for drag, and now there is an economy because of a certain show that may have premiered called RuPaul's Drag Race, which is a game show that they have on VH1 and Paramount that pits clowns together against each other in order to win $100,000. Now, you became an activist after this show pretty much started, because
I wouldn't say an activist so much as an advocate.
An advocate. You were an advocate because when you saw the show start, let's talk about RuPaul's. When you saw the show start, did you think that there would be no trans women on the show?
Well, I mean, we all noticed that there were none in the first season. And then with each season that came along, the trans queens knew what was happening.
What season was Sonique? Sonique was 2?
Two-ish, I think.
Okay, because she was the first queen to come out on that game show as a trans woman
during the finale or whatnot. And after that, if I remember correctly, we kind of like thought maybe now they're gonna have some on there. Years went by and they just didn't. And actually, there's a little a lot of people don't remember this, but it was I want to say it was like the 3rd or 4th season, maybe 5th, something like that. Very early on, there was World of Wonder held an internet competition,
like an open call type thing.
Yeah, an open call, and it was like by fan vote. Whoever was voted, had the most votes. You submitted your video online on their little website, and whoever had the most votes got a cast spot. And there was this trans queen named Dina Cass, who is a fucking hoot. Country is cornbread and just personality out the ass. But she was thousands and thousands and thousands of votes ahead of everybody. And suddenly the website went down. And when the website came back up, it was what's her name? She denied it. She declined that year. She won that vote, and then she declined. What's the little rock and roll girl's name who was on American Idol?
Oh, Adore. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know any of this.
The website went down. Dina was no longer, when it came back up, Dina was no longer, and Adore was like miles ahead of everybody.
Interesting.
Very mysterious.
So, but you
declined that year and ended up doing it, I think, the following year. Penetration. They still, after Adore declined, they still didn't give it to Dina Cass. They gave it to Penetration.
So, but I do remember.
That's when we knew that.
So was that what was that the moment where you got angry?
That was one of the moments, but also in the very beginning, if you like go back in my history far enough, I was very pro RuPaul. I was like, surely I was giving him the benefit of the doubt for many, many years.
Sure.
So surely he's not like,
I mean, he's friends with Amanda, like, you know, he's
producers or something, surely not Ru. But then after so many things, you know, happened, and I took up for him about, you know, saying tranny and shit too, because you know, back then that was
common phrase.
What we used. Yeah, that it wasn't a slur back then. So yeah, I took up for him for a long time, and then after just so many things, I was like, okay, this is ridiculous. So
now, your fight with the RuPaul show, and not even a fight, like literally just trying to hold them accountable, saying that you are completely alienating a group of humans that created the genre, you know, outside of like, you know, Shakespearean play producers who dressed up men in drag because they didn't let women act. Like when it became balls and stuff like this was a movement for trans people. And then they give you like things, they give us other things like, you know, not trying to minimize mixed performance, got mixed performance. But that wasn't, that really wasn't the question that we wanted answered.
They tried to pull the wool over people's eyes a number of times. I mean, with Peppermint, they tried to advertise her as the first trans contestant, and I was so excited about that. I was like, oh my God, they finally put a trans woman on there. Then when the show aired, she was quote unquote in the closet and came out halfway through the season. Like,
it sounds like you want to root for this game show still.
I want to root for it so bad. And I'm happy that they're finally, after a decade and a half, after an entire generation of trans women an entire generation of transsexual women have been denied this opportunity. I'm so happy that from here on out, it looks like they're going to be given the opportunity. But it just sucks that a whole generation that deserved, I mean, there are so many legends who were in their prime back then who would have been so good on it.
Yeah.
Like, the show started when Sara Andrews was still alive, and she was, I mean, one who taught a generation of drag queens how to do drag.
Yeah.
And she couldn't even, they wouldn't even put her on. So it just,
let's talk about
generation of trans queens were sort of taken out of the mainstream's eye, sort of erased in a sense.
Switch it up, because you made a distinction when you were telling us, when we were just talking, and you said transsexual women, because you identify as a transsexual woman, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
And you are an advocate for all trans folks, but you had a little run-in on the Twitter that I even got a little bit of venom from, because you and I talk openly about trans issues. But you had a little run-in with the NBs, which are the non-binary folks that are out there who also classify as trans.
Right.
Do you want to talk about what it was like to be semi-canceled on the internet because of who you are, and literally being honestly, it seems like because you were a trans white woman that suddenly your opinion didn't matter anymore after being a 40-year-old.
I mean, I've been canceled so many times I can't count it, but that was definitely the biggest one. And I think it was especially big because I hadn't been announced for, the Boulet Bros Dragula yet, but like people knew, what the predictions were out and people assumed. So they came harder because something, big was happening. That's when they always come the hardest.
Right.
And also, I didn't handle myself all that well with some trolls, basically.
Yeah.
I learned then to say my piece and like ghost and post, say my piece, let them fight amongst themselves, because I do get emotional. I do get angry, and when I do get emotional, I don't think so clearly, and I'm not as poignant as I know I can be.
You lack some eloquence in the heat of the moment, and upon reflection, though, well, here's the thing. I hate that we have to. This got me in trouble because, this segment has already gone over because I just love talking to you. But like our conversation regarding non-binary and trans folks started when Slag Wars started. And I was watching Slag Wars because the Tony Soto show was reviewing that show for the Patreon. And I remember they had a non-binary, for the most reasonable mask presenting, like, non-binary person and a trans woman. And there was a disagreement between Nikki Monet, and there was a disagreement between the two. And the non-binary person was like, oh, you would think that me and a trans girl would be on the same page. And I immediately was like, I have to talk to Sarah. Like I need to talk to Sarah. And we had that long conversation because I said, I don't think it's the same. And this moment when, and I don't want to out your husband, but this was a moment when you were still very umbrella, everyone in. And I don't think
I very much advocated for the umbrella for a very long time.
And it was a moment when I was like, because I wanted to learn from you, because I was like, well, I mean, if Sarah says that it fits, but it didn't fit to me in my head. And that's not saying that I think it's like what people think is that you're immediately minimizing their existence.
It's very strange to me that saying that a trans experience is different than another experience, somehow in people's heads, they hear that you are invalidating them. And it's like, I in my opinion, that's their own insecurities coming through. But yeah, I'm not invalidating you. I'm not saying you don't exist. I'm not saying that you aren't what you say you are, but I believe the two are two different experiences.
Yes, and it kind of feels like one side is a little bit pushy under that umbrella to the front of the line.
Transsexuals haven't been allowed to call ourselves transsexuals for quite some time now because it's
and who made that up?
Because it's offensive to other people under the umbrella. And I'm like, wait a minute, these are the same people who are screaming, respect people's identities. But then when a transsexual pops up and says, well, I'm a transsexual and my experience doesn't quite line up with yours, they're like, how dare you, invalidate us? And it's like, no, I'm just saying we're not the same. I'm not saying that we're better than you. I'm not saying that, you're better than us.
I'm saying I can't take my tits off.
Two different experiences. The world treats us differently. You can't pretend like the world treats us the same.
Well, and see, this is the thing. It's like
And I do have, let me say one more thing. I do
Yeah, of
have a
course.
bit of a problem when people insert themselves into other people's oppression as if it's happening to them in the same way.
We just talked about this Munchausen by internet, girl. You got me looking at shit, Googling shit. I was like,
that's very strange to me when someone inserts themselves into some
explain
other
what you mean.
Well, take Drag Race, for instance. Drag Race, RuPaul very specifically stated in that the infamous Guardian interview where they finally admitted that transsexual people would not be allowed on Drag Race. He stated very clearly that Peppermint was allowed on there. She's trans. Great. So clearly trans people are allowed on Drag Race, right? But had she had breast implants, he would, quote, probably not have cast her. So the problem isn't trans people. The problem is trans people who have transitioned or are
modified their bodies.
And it's ridiculous that I have to use all those words to say transsexual. The problem was not against trans people. The problem was against transsexuals, point blank, period.
Yeah.
And so that, for example, is transsexuals were being oppressed specifically, but the whole trans community sort of like hopped on it and inserted themselves in it. And when transsexuals were like, wait a minute, like, no, this is not about everybody. This is, specifically about us. Suddenly we're being transphobic. We're being truth scum. We're being transmedicalists. We're being everything else.
You're gatekeeping. You're doing whatever.
I'm just trying to explain what is happening to us, and you are not only are you inserting yourself into our oppression, but you are also speaking over us, and that's wild that that's accepted and allowed.
Yeah, but the outside world looks at it and they're like, well, they're all trans. Like what? Yeah. So that, and it's like,
yeah,
that's so fucked up. And like,
same.
And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to say, I don't remember being invited to the meeting where we put non-binaries under the T because there's so much room under the Q. You know what I mean? It's like I don't understand. To me, the mission statements are both different. Like trans is to transition into something other, whereas non-binary is to just be gray.
Like I said, I was very pro the umbrella for a long time.
Yes, you were.
This was sort of when, with the original umbrella that included like drag queens and masculine women and feminine men and all that. And, I was very pro that. But then like when people started ripping that umbrella apart and editing it and then putting more people under there, taking more people out, then it just became like...
And brand new people making rules all of a sudden.
It became very confusing.
So confusing.
And at this point, I think it's not serving anyone. I don't think it's serving non-binary people. I don't think it's serving trans people. I don't think it's serving any of us to...
I just think
umbrella, because we all have different needs and we can't talk about those needs because everyone's arguing about them.
I think that
people want this, trans people want that. They don't align. So like then people outside the umbrella are getting confused and being like, trans people.
All the infighting. It's the same thing that's happening with Democrats and progressives. Like, I mean, it's the same thing. It's like we're all the same, but you're all fighting. And I think like what really rang and really upset me during that whole moment with you was someone had tweeted, at the end of the day, you're still a white woman, so shut up. And I was like, how dare you completely erase a part of her? Like now she's just a white bitch, so she just got to shut her fucking mouth.
Oh my God.
Just a white bitch.
That's a whole other issue that I have. Let me say this. I have never agreed with the way that trans activists have gone about their activism. I've always been a little, kind of on the outside of that, being like, no, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. And that is one instance that I don't agree with the way that they do it, is whenever they started saying trans women are women. I think that is so oversimplified and a problem to erase
The biology thing.
to
Oh, I
erase
remember
the
this,
trans
girl.
part. Don't erase the trans part of me. I'm not I'm not just a woman. I'm a trans woman. I'm not the same as a woman. The world will not ever treat me the same as a woman. Don't erase that. You're erasing a lot. You're erasing a lot of
Yeah.
oppression. You know, women have, you know, their oppression and their issues too. And we do share some of the same ones, of course. But we also have our own oppression that women don't have, like that cis women don't have. So don't erase that part of me. And
see, this is so interesting.
What you just said proves that point. When someone was like, "You're just a white woman," they erased the trans part and all the oppression that comes along with that. So yeah, I don't agree with just simply being referred to as a woman. I don't like that. I am a transsexual woman, and
I
stand on that. God damn it!
I could talk about this forever because then I would imagine that some people would probably call you a turf, like in that situation too.
Too, girl.
Yeah,
too.
Which it's like, how dare you be so quick to fucking label me as something? Like,
respect our identity, respect my identity, unless
respect, yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Now, before we go to break, because honestly, I could literally talk to you for hours, and we've gone already over for this segment. Set it straight, because so you got on that internet game show, and you got on it under the name Bitter Betty.
Right.
Did you do that so people would not know that you were still Sara Andrews?
Oh, you must have seen my tweet today. I've had a couple of people say, just go ahead and change your name back because you're the same person, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, do these people really think that I changed my name to try to hide from, like, all the advocating that I did, all the awareness that I raised for trans women in drag? Like, what a bizarre take. But no, I just wanted a more marketable name than Sara Andrews.
That's right. You are forever, though, the iconic
let me
Sara
say this.
Andrews.
This is why I became Bitter Betty, is haters like that. When I was advocating so fiercely, a countless number of people were like, well, you just sound bitter. You're just bitter. You didn't get it. You're just bitter. You can't get on the show. And I'm like, well, no shit.
Yeah. Why is that not okay to say?
Right.
Like, why is that not okay to say? Like, first of all, like a game show openly discriminated against a group of people,
and you're just bitter about it.
And which is like, they can never be on the show at that time. They can never be on the show. Like, why wouldn't that make you? Exclusion makes everybody bitter.
Bitter as hell. And people tried to, use that to discount the words that I was saying. Oh, you just sound bitter. It's gaslighting. It's a big form of gaslighting.
Yeah, and so misogyny, because
I decided, I heard it one too many times one day, and I was like, you know what? I'll show you fucking bitter. I'll show you Bitter Betty, bitch. And I became Bitter Betty.
And you did. And I do have to say,
to my haters.
And I have to say, you became one of the most appreciated characters on that internet game show. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
All right.
Oh my God, I could have fucking talked to you so much longer.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was so fun.
Thanks. And I hope that I don't get canceled, but I don't think we said anything bad.
I don't.
Listen,
I think that everything you said was, in my opinion, and how I feel. And if their feelings are fucking valid, so are fucking yours.
Right.
I am so over hearing these feely people get all in their feels. And then when I want to say how I feel, they're all like, shut up.
Like I said, I think it comes from a place of insecurity, and I'm
that said,
I'm not gonna, dim my light because you're insecure.
I mean, listen, that is literally why I started doing a podcast. So, I mean, this is a way that I am held accountable for my opinions. Now, granted, I am pretty burnt out and I am a walking contradiction. So this is also a running record of being like, bitch, well, that's not how you felt the last time. Look at her giving us a show. Fuck it, ladies and gentlemen. Just a whole body, yaddy, yaddy. All right. Are you ready to come back? This is going to be literally real quick, and then we're going to close it out. Cool?
The fun little questions.
Yep.
Cute.
Are you ready?
I am.
Okay, me too. I hope people watch this. This was a fun interview. Here we go. All right, we are back. And now, Sarah, before we go, real quick, this is a segment where I ask you some really fast questions and get some really quick answers. And the first question is, we are in a brand new year, 2022. Happy New Year, BT Dubs.
Oh, Happy New Year.
What is a trend that you want to leave in 2021?
Girl, COVID. Fucking COVID. Masks. Can we get rid of it all? Like, I'm so tired of it all.
I mean, we're already, 2 weeks into January, and I think COVID's still at the top of the list. So you're already setting yourself up for disappointment.
My beautiful face out in public is all.
All right. Who do you admire?
Myself. Wait, look at me.
This is a product of the 90s, everyone. This is a latchkey kid. This is someone. It's all about me. It's my favorite warm-up. Me. If you weren't doing what you are doing right now, what would you be doing?
Bitch, probably sex work. Fucking sex work. Back in my day when I started transitioning, like, I would have been doing sex work if I couldn't do drag. Those were my only options in the Deep South. And
sex work is work because you gotta fuck a ghost.
You know what I mean? But I'm also like borderline asexual, so like it would not suit me.
Ooh, that's a lot of work then. So like, I love how you're borderline. You're like, I'll let you touch it occasionally, but overall, that's just age heavy.
We're over there like. Damn it.
What is your worst bad habit?
My worst bad habit, procrastinating and biting my nails. I started doing my own nails because I don't know if you've heard about gel nails. Like, they're so easy to pop on yourself. And
no, I just get a gel polish.
I can't pay to have my nails. I'm too frugal, girl. I'm too stingy.
See, this is how I knew that COVID was over for me. I started going back to my manicurist and getting my eyebrows done. So
see, bougie.
I was like, COVID's over.
Someone else do your eyebrows, bougie.
And finally, toilet paper, under or over?
Girl, that is a question of the past. Have you not heard of vertical toilet roll holders?
You fucker, that is so bisexual of you, and I hate it. Vertical. Like, choose a side. Vertical.
But I will say, before vertical became like an option, I don't know why it took us so long to realize that you could like put the toilet paper vertically. Before that, it would have been over.
I'm so glad you're not a monster.
No.
Those unders are weird to me. It's like it's rubbing against the wall. That's weird to me. Sarah, thank you so much for kicking off this first experiment. Solo with Soto. I love talking to you. Will you tell people where they can find you on the social media?
You can find me at Bitter Betty Sucks on everything, and it's SUX.
That's right.
Bitter Betty Sucks.
That's right. And everyone, I am the Tony Soto Show on everything that is Instagram, Twitter, and Venmo. We're going to be back next week with a regular Tony Soto Show. So until then, goodbye.
Bye.
Yay, we did it.
Yay.
Let me just stop this. Now I do need to take a photo.